In this video, you're going to learn how to create this simple inventory manager in Excel. With this handy spreadsheet, you will be able to easily track purchases of new inventory, track any and all sales, and view the quantity for all items at once. The quantity, in, and out numbers all calculate automatically, and the table also highlights any quantity numbers that are getting too low. Finally, this template includes a lookup page where you can quickly look up the information for any item, and you can even see your spending, revenue, and cash balance as well. And so, if this looks like a spreadsheet that you want to build, then stick with me as we create this entire template from scratch. Starting with a blank Excel workbook, the first thing that we will do is set up the worksheet structure. Click here to select all of the cells. Right-click on the row headings and select row height. Change the height to 25 and click OK. Now right-click on the column headings, select column width, change the width to 12 and click OK. Then change the vertical alignment to middle and the horizontal alignment to left. Next, select row 1, right-click, select row height, change the height to 30, and click OK. Also, change the font size to 14, bold the font, and change the font color to white. Then, click the Fill button here, select More Colors, click on Custom, and enter the following hex code: 435361. Then click OK. Now select column A, right-click, and select column width. Change the width to 4 and click OK. Now to complete this structure, go ahead and turn off the grid lines by going to View, uncheck Grid Lines. With the structure now complete, you want to create 4 copies of this worksheet. So right-click on the Worksheet tab, select Move or Copy, check Create a Copy, and click OK. Then just repeat this process 2 more times. And once you have all 4 worksheets, go ahead and rename the first worksheet to Lookup, rename the second worksheet to Inventory, rename the third to Purchases, open parentheses, in, close parentheses, and rename the last worksheet to Sales, open parentheses, out, close parentheses. Awesome. At this point, navigate to the inventory sheet, then select cell B1 and type in inventory. We will now create the inventory table. So select cell B3 and type in ID or SKU if you use SKUs instead. Then in cell C3, type in description, then quantity, in, out, start, and extra info. And you can always call extra info something else if you want to track a specific piece of information here. Either way, your next step is to select the range B3 through H7, and then go to Insert, Table. Check the box next to My Table Has Headers, and click OK. Then, up in the ribbon, under the Table Design tab, rename the table to Inventory. And also uncheck the box next to the filter button right here. Now we will create a new custom style to format our table. So start by clicking the down arrow here and select New Table Style. Give this style a name, then select Whole Table and click Format. Under the Border tab, change the color to gray, click the Outline and Inside buttons to apply the border, and click OK. Now select the header row element next and click Format. For the border color, select the custom color that we created earlier, and then for the style, select a slightly thicker border. You can then click this button here to apply the border on the bottom. Move to the Fill tab next and select this light gray fill color. Then move to the Font tab and change the font style to bold. You can then click OK. Now go ahead and check this box right here to set this as the default table style for this spreadsheet. And then click OK. Now to apply the style to the inventory table, click the down arrow here and select the style here. Fantastic. To complete the table, select column C and H and change the column width to 30. Then select columns D through G and change the horizontal alignment to center. With the table now done, go ahead and type in some sample data like so. Awesome. At this point, we will now create the purchase and sales tables on the other two worksheets, and then we will come back to this worksheet to finish the formulas in this table. So for now, go ahead and navigate to the Purchases worksheet. Select cell B1 and type in Purchases in. Then select cell B3 and type in Date, then ID, Description, Quantity, and Cost. Now select B3 through F9 and go to Insert, Table. Check the box next to My Table Has Headers and click OK. Then, under the Table Design tab in the ribbon, rename the table to Purchases and uncheck the box next to Filter button. After that, select column D and change the column width to 30. Select column E and change the horizontal alignment to center. Then select column F and change the horizontal alignment to right. You can then enter some sample data like so. With the sample data entered, go ahead and select the date column, and under the Home tab in the ribbon, change the number format to short date. Then select the cost column, including the header, and change the number format to comma style using this button right here. And finally, select the description column and change the font color to blue. Now, to complete the table, select cell D4 and enter the following formula. Equals, if error function, VLOOKUP function, select the ID, next argument, inventory, next argument, 2, next argument, false, close parentheses, next argument, quote, dash, quote, close parentheses. This formula uses the VLOOKUP function to return the item description based on the item ID entered into the ID column of this table. The if error function returns a dash in the case that no ID is entered. And since you are adding this formula to an Excel table, the formula is automatically copied down each row. With that, you are finished with the purchases table. And to save time, go ahead and select the table, then right-click and copy. Move to the sales worksheet, select cell B3, right-click, and paste. This saves you from having to create a new table from scratch, and only a few changes need to be made. First, click on the Table Design tab in the ribbon, uncheck the box next to Filter button, and change the table name to Sales. Then select column D and change the column width to 30. Finally, select cell F3 and change the value to Revenue. You can then select cell B1 and type in Sales Out. Also, to help us validate our formulas later, go ahead and add an extra row of sample data like so. We are now done with the purchase and sales table, so go ahead and move back to the inventory worksheet. We will now calculate the quantity, in and out columns. Starting with the quantity column, select cell D4 and enter the following formula. Equals, select the start number, plus select the in number, minus select the out number. This formula calculates the current quantity by adding the inventory in to the starting inventory, and then it subtracts the inventory out. Next, let's calculate the inventory in. Select cell E4 and enter the following formula. Equals, SUMIF function, purchases, open bracket, ID, close bracket, next argument, select the ID number, next argument, purchases, open bracket, quantity, close bracket, close parentheses, and press enter. This formula uses the SUMIF function to add the quantity numbers for those purchase records that contain the corresponding product ID. Now let's calculate the inventory out. So select cell F4 and enter the following formula. Equals, SUMIF function, sales, open bracket, ID, close bracket, next argument, select the ID number, next argument, sales, open bracket, quantity, close bracket, close parentheses, and press enter. This formula uses the SUMIF function to add the quantity numbers for those sales records that contain the corresponding product ID. And with the three formulas complete, we just need to add some formatting to complete the table. Start by selecting the quantity column and change the font color to blue. Then select the in column and change the font color to green. And then select the out column and change the font color to dark red. Now, for the finishing touch for this table, we will add in a conditional formatting rule that highlights any quantity numbers that fall below a certain threshold. And to pull this off, first select the quantity column, and then under the Home tab in the ribbon, go to Conditional Formatting, highlight Cell Rules, less than. Now, here in this box is where you specify the number that you want to consider as a low amount of inventory. For example, if you want to highlight inventory numbers that go below 5, then you would put a 5 here. After that, click the down arrow here and select Custom Format. Then, under the Fill tab, click on More Colors, click on Custom, and enter the hex code FFFFCC. Then click OK, OK, and OK. Now, anytime one of the quantity numbers falls below 5, the cell will automatically be highlighted. And that does it for the inventory page, so all that's left is the lookup page. Navigate to the Lookup Worksheet, select cell B1, and type in Lookup. From here, select columns B and H and change the column width to 4. Then select columns C and E and change the column width to 6. Then select columns D and F and change the column width to 15. Then select column G and change the column width to 30. At this point, click the down arrow next to the border button and change the line color to gray. Now, when you do this, Excel might go into draw border mode like this. Not to worry though, you can set things back to normal by clicking the down arrow here and click the option labeled Draw Border to turn it off. Once you've done that, select the range B3 through D5, click the down arrow next to the Borders button, and select All Borders. Then select the range F4 through F5 and apply all borders. and select the range B7 through H11. Click the down arrow next to the borders button here and select outside borders for this one. Also, apply a light gray fill color. Once you've done that, select cell D8 and apply outside borders and remove the fill color. Select G8, apply outside borders, remove the fill color, select D10, apply outside borders, remove the fill color, and select G10, apply outside borders, and remove the fill color. That does it for the borders, so now select B3 through C3 and merge these cells by clicking the Merge button here. You can then copy the merged cells down with the fill handle. At this point, select the range D3 through D5, then hold the Control key and also select F4 through F5, D8, G8, D10, and G10. And with these cells selected, change the horizontal alignment to center. Now select cell B3 and type in Start, then Cost, and then Revenue. Select F4 and type in Balance. Select C8 and type in ID. Select D8 and type in 1. Select F8 and type in Description. Select C10 and type in Quantity. Then select F10 and type in Extra Info, or whatever you named that extra column on the inventory table. Now we just need to add in a couple of formulas to complete the worksheet. So start by selecting cell D4 and enter the following formula. Equals sum function, purchases, open bracket, cost, close bracket, close parentheses, and enter. Then in cell D5, enter the following formula. Equals sum function, sales, open bracket, revenue, close bracket, close parentheses. And then in cell F5, enter the following formula. Equals D3 minus D4 plus D5. These three formulas will give you the total amount that you've spent, the total revenue, and your remaining cash balance. And if you started with a certain amount of funds, you can simply add that in right here in cell D3. Also, you can clean up the number formatting by selecting D3 through D5 and F5, and then in the ribbon, change the number format to number. Awesome. Now for the lookup values below. Start by selecting cell G8 and enter the following formula. Equals if in a function, VLOOKUP function, $D, $8, next argument, inventory, next argument, 2, next argument, false, close parentheses, next argument, quote dash quote, close parentheses. This formula uses the VLOOKUP function to capture the description from the inventory table based on the ID chosen in cell D8. And to save time, simply copy cell G8, then select D10 and paste, and select G10 and paste. Then, going back to cell D10, all you have to do is change the 2 to a 3, and in cell G10, just change the 2 to a 7. And with that, your formulas are complete. To finish things up, let's add in a little bit more color and style. Start by selecting B3 through C5, D4 through D5, and F4 through F5, and add a light gray fill color. Then select cell D4 and change the font color to dark red. select D5 and change the font color to green. Then select F5, G8, D10, and G10 and change the font color to blue. Finally, select all of the cells in the worksheet and bold the font. With that, you are done with your simple inventory management system in Microsoft Excel. Like this video if you had fun, subscribe if you learned something new, and until next time, I will see you again in the next Spreadsheet Life video.